welcome to Saving People, Queering Things, the supernatural podcast where Noah is losing his mind once again because his favorite fictional dad is back in the flesh? Question mark. Noah, how are you feeling?
Loving it. I'm fine.
Today we are pulling up to season 7, episode 18, Party On, Garth. I'm your host, August. My pronouns are they, them.
I'm Sam. My pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Noah. Pronouns he, him.
My question today for you is, I want to know, when you first watched this, Sam, if you remember, and Noah,
2 hours ago.
2 hours ago. Did you see the Bobby is a ghost thing coming? And if so, when did you see it? Like, how much of a surprise was this reveal today? You seem like you didn't know anything about this a few episodes ago. Sorry,
I'm
Sam.
trying to remember thinking back to when I first watched it. I think I started to realize after the beer was drank. They were dropping some hints. So I think this point, when this episode came around, I had been thinking oh, maybe they'll bring back Bobby as a ghost. I also remember being like, why did they not burn his flask? Obviously, he's going to stick around in his flask. And I remember being confused about why they never brought that up.
That's a good point.
Bobby can be in his, aren't they supposed to burn everything that he owned so that he isn't a ghost?
Why
are they hanging on to his flask?
Anything with an emotional connection.
Yeah.
Anything he could possibly hang around in. It's true.
So
but also I think they trust, maybe they trusted that the whole thing is you're not supposed to hang around as a ghost.
Yeah.
If you're a hunter, you know that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? Anyway,
So I knew that they would do it at some point because that's an easy plot piece to use. In my opinion, the most likable character on the show so far.
Okay, so you thought for that reason.
I thought, we know that ghosts exist. We know that he wants to protect them. They didn't ever actually confirm whether or not Bobby went with the Reaper, but honestly, my first inkling that it was going to happen soon and could be involved with the flask was after time, whenever they go back in time. And I was like, well, so he made a big point about this flask. So is that the one he's using or is it actually Bobby's? And everybody was like, yeah, no, it's Bobby's. What, for sure. 100%. Yep. And
it was our fault. So that was
partially.
Okay, that's fair.
But I don't think I didn't know it was coming in this episode until the sword moved. And I was like, oh, yes. Okay. He's here. He is in the room. Where's my guy? I didn't think they were going to show him on screen, though. I thought they were going to make a bunch of references to it. And then we'll get to it. But I was pretty certain it was going to happen this season because of the flask conversation, but I knew that it was going to happen this episode with the sword.
Right. Basically right when it happened.
Basically, yeah. 10 minutes before.
Amazing. Speaking of which, let's catch up to where we are. So if you haven't watched Supernatural recently, here is what you've missed on the road so far. We have Noah today, who's going to recap the show up to this point. So let me know when you're ready.
Okie dokie. I think I'm ready. I think I'm good.
Believe in you. You got this.
That makes one of us.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so there's two brothers and they hunt ghosts, hunt monsters, all of that, etc. They were abused by their birth dad and he's a piece of shit. He's gone out of the picture and now they have their better dad, Bobby, who trains them, helps them out every time they need help, has a safe place that they can go to all the time, gives them advice on everything. They start the apocalypse, they stop the apocalypse, they trap Lucifer, they get Sam back, he loses his soul and then they get it back. But then he's got some stuff going on in his head where Lucifer's still in there. And then Bobby fucking dies. Oh my god, Cass is also in this. Dean's boyfriend, Angel, who is an icon and legend.
You know what? Normally I'd be mad that you forgot Cass, but you're just so attached to Bobby, and that's the reason that you forgot about Cass. Yeah. So I think we'll let it slide for you.
I gave John way too much time in that. I was like, fuck off.
You did. I mean, it was all derogatory, but still.
Yeah. And it was mostly just to point back to Bobby. So
it was drawing the contrast. It was an important contrast.
I realized though, with 6 seconds left, I was like, oh my god, Castiel. My baby boy.
Castiel.
He's been gone for so long. It's hard to remember.
He's been gone for so long. He's back though.
Yeah. Well, Cassifer.
I mean, he's haunted by Lucifer, but he is back.
Yeah.
All right. So that brings us to Sam's turn to recap this week's episode, which is Party On Garth. Are you ready?
Okay. On that note, I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to count you in. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so there is some monster killing people as usual. The boys are trying to figure it out. They have to team up with Garth because Garth calls them over to this case. And they begrudgingly go and team up with him, and they find out that it is an alcohol spirit that is killing off children of someone who someone else had a grudge on. And then they figure out how to kill it. And then at the very end, we see Bobby as a ghost not being able to communicate with the boys. And it's really sad at the end.
It broke my heart.
Oh boy. Yeah. This episode's a roller coaster. But yeah, let's get right into it. So now that you are all caught up, it is time for this week's hunt. And as we said, today we are pulling up to season 7, episode 18, Party On, Garth, through the theme of impairment.
Party On, Garth. I fucking love Garth.
I love Garth so much.
Oh my God. This is what I think of when I think of Garth. This is the episode that I think of as Garth introduction, because this is where we really get to know.
This is where we get to meet him, like him, not just like a side character for a hunt. Like this episode.
Not just like
even just the like first scene you get of him like
the slow-mo
attitude and the music
love
and
this
like
intro.
Cool guy. Oh, it's so good.
They set you up for it to be a very different kind of character, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like with the music and the style, and then they see you, and then you see his shoes, and he's got these like
Converse.
Like Converse.
He's like breaking all the hunter stereotypes.
Yes. He is a queer icon, and I will never not say that Garth is queer in the show.
I mean, I think that we can confidently be like, that boy is bi.
Oh, for sure.
I think we can confidently be that. Just general his like attitude towards relationships is a very like queer centric one. But before we get into it, yes, my God, I want to talk about Garth as a hunter compared to like basically every other hunter we've met. But before we do, I do think we should give some content warnings for this episode. This episode deals with a number of topics, including alcoholism, drunk driving, substance abuse generally,
especially with kids involved too.
Yes, substance abuse by minors, and as you know, most supernatural episodes do, also a decent amount of blood, guts, and gore related to those topics, family trauma. So yeah, please listen with care, and as always, we will do our best to speak about these topics also with care.
I love how you're saying, Garth breaks every stereotype, defies them all about hunters. My top hunters that aren't part of Team Free Will, which for the record, I count Ellen and Joe as an extended part of that. My top 2 hunters have been Gordon Walker and Garth now. So like
2 very different hunters.
The different ends of the spectrum, very, very vastly different. But I like Garth a little bit more, not gonna lie.
Garth is so he breaks all the stereotypes of like what a hunter is, because he is like, he's silly, he's ridiculous, he's emotionally intelligent, but he's not like a doofus.
Yeah.
Like he's a really good hunter. Like and it's very clear in this episode that he is a very good at what he does. Like he has like when like Dean comes in and starts like doing all of the basic normal scans that they do, and Garth's like, I done all that. Like Garth is not called them in because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's called them in because he has gone through everything he knows and like needs backup. And I don't know. Well, I feel like
also, and like unlike the boys who almost always hunt together unless they're in a fight, he hunts solo.
Yeah.
Unless he has a situation like this where he has to call in backup. But like he's always on his own. So he knows his shit.
Yeah.
He can handle his own most of the time.
I also really liked that he has Dean's phone number, which we can assume he got from Bobby, right? Like back whenever they had to meet up and whatnot. Yeah. Dean obviously doesn't have it saved because he's like, what? Who's this? Garth. Garth who? Like
I also wonder if maybe it's because they've had to ditch their phones a bunch of times. Well, could also be that.
If it's that, then how does he have Dean's phone?
That's true. That's true.
Dean on the road, right?
He calls Dean. Yeah, never mind. Dean just doesn't have his number saved. That makes sense.
Because Dean's kind of an ass like that, in the best way. We love him.
To be fair, the last time that the one time that they hunted together was like the weird ass case where Becky was like drugging Sam. Like it wasn't a case that Dean was eager to be like, this is a partnership I want to come back to. It's like, just get me the hell out of the situation.
Yeah, I get that. I did love that they had in the recap all of the scenes from like season 4 where Bobby talks to Garth on the phone and it's like, call the FBI, and then like hangs up and it's called not me, the real FBI. Fuck, God, you're so I'll struggle with you, son. Like, it's so fucking good.
It's so good. It's
And I
so
remember
good.
back when we recorded those episodes, I was like, yeah, DJ Qualls. I know he plays a character named Garth. Is that this show? And you guys were like, oh, well, yeah. Well,
DJ Qualls is an absolute fucking delight.
honestly, in every show he's in, every show I've seen.
Yeah, he's a fucking delight. And like we'll talk about him like DJ Qualls and like in relation to other characters in the future when we get there. But he's just got this like attitude that's so good. And also like
But it's
he's
a
also like
charming attitude. You know, he's like,
yeah,
I'm just a little guy. I've got
But
so much
also,
sass inside of me.
you've been Garth. Like he's a like legend.
And
He
then
also
when he sees the next body or the next victim, he's like, what? But I totally Garthed her. Like, what? It's
he's
so
that
good.
he's that person that's like given himself a catchphrase. But he's that rare person where it actually worked.
It works.
And it didn't just make them more lame.
Yep. Oh my gosh. When the boys show up to the morgue and he's there in uniform as a
Oh my
soldier.
gosh.
Because I mean, another piece of evidence
And
that
his
he's
whole
queer.
like explanation of it just being because he looks good in it.
He looks good
Yeah.
in it.
again, that those queer vibes coming off real strong.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty anti-military myself.
Yeah.
But Garth looks pretty good in that uniform. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
It was good.
it's true. You know, it's so funny because also Dean's face when Garth says, "No, I just look good in uniform," and Dean's face goes through this whole thing because he's like, "I don't think there's nothing between Dean and Garth. Like Dean, there's nothing there
Except for queer recognition, you know?
Yeah, but like we know Dean has thing for people in uniforms, specifically guys in uniforms. Like that's been very, very evident throughout
Daddy
the show.
issues.
Very recently, even too, like literally in Time After Time. Like Dean likes a man in uniform, so it's always funny when a man points out that he looks good in a uniform, and Dean's like having a moment.
He's like, sorry, back to the. Let's talk about the dead body in the room, please. Can't think about that anymore. Also, the fact that Sam like gives Dean a look and is like, Garth, like, what? This guy, really? And Dean's like, he grows on, which is confirmation to me that Garth has already grown on Dean. Like, he already appreciates and likes Garth. Like, I'm there for it.
They show up for Garth, considering everything else is going on right now. They show up to help Garth, and like, they wouldn't, I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't necessarily show up for just any hunter that calls them right now.
That's true. They're going through a lot.
Garth is connected, and also Garth is connected to Bobby, and like they're going to show up for someone who's connected to their dad. Like,
that makes sense.
It's fun to see Sam interact with Garth because we didn't get to see that last episode, really.
Yes. Which, not to skip ahead to the end of the episode, but he says, "You're right. He did grow on me." Like, I do like that little crazy little kid.
Yep,
it's very good.
So good.
The start of the episode, though, with the first victim. Yeah. It was not great seeing a bunch of kids hanging out in the forest telling spooky stories, and then their brother comes up drunk as a skunk, and not like he drove there supposedly too. Like that's fucked up. We're encouraging not just minors drinking, but drunk driving too.
Yeah, like, I did appreciate that the older sibling, the older brother, is like is pretty obviously like vocally like, you drove here. That's not okay.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that is the only moment in this episode where that's really where like drunk driving is really definitively like condemned, which I think is a bit of a miss.
Well, I think it's it's one of two, because when Sam's at the bar,
that's true,
and Dean's like, "Hey, are you good to drive?" and Sam's like, "Well," and he's like, "Get a ride," you know, like
Dean isn't like, figure it out, do it anyways.
Yeah,
he's like,
which
at least
is another instance of the older brother taking care of the younger brother. Like,
oh, that's a good little mirrory thing that's going on. But yeah, it's a really concerning scene, like these kids in the woods, and like kids are gonna do things, and like they're gonna like, substances are often a part of like adolescence, and it's not as simple to just be like teenagers shouldn't ever, because they're going to. But it's a concerning sort of situation with these kids, like without any supervision, not just like drinking, but like getting very drunk.
Like that kid couldn't stand up. Like, it was bad.
In ways that are quite dangerous. Like, even if there wasn't a monster in these woods, this is a really dangerous situation.
Didn't love that.
Yeah, if we're talking about impairment, like definite impairment. of judgment there.
For sure, 100%. It's also interesting to talk about impairment on an episode where there's a monster who can only be seen if you are impaired. Like, that's an interesting tact to take. I wish it had focused not on minors, which, I mean, I guess, well, okay, because you could do the same story, but have the kids be, you know, adults. Like, these...
maybe college kids.
Yeah.
And this suddenly has a bit of a different feel to it.
Yeah, much different. Especially because the youngest one is like 10.
Okay, so this leads me to my big question about how the monster... I have some logistical lore questions about how this monster works. Because beginning of the episode, first victim is drunk. Not just like has had some alcohol, is drunk.
Yeah.
We later on have multiple victims / people who can see the monster who are like not drunk, who are not impaired. This child who had 2 sips of an orange juice that had like maybe 2 shots in it.
Maybe at most.
At most, there's 2 shots in this entire glass of orange juice. This kid has like one sip. One
and
sip.
Also, the kid is like immediately giggly.
Now, see, I think
that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make logistic sense for sure.
No.
I think that them using Garth later on, like chugging a beer and then getting drunk pretty immediately afterwards, they used that to be like, well, no, it was hilarious. I loved it. It was very good because he's just a small guy and he's got his little metabolism is a lot different from the boys.
Yeah.
But I think they were kind of using that as a mirror to the youngest kid.
Interesting.
Being like, she's got, you know, a way different metabolism. She's a child. And so she takes a sip of like, we're talking at most a quarter of a shot.
I wonder if then the monster, like, I feel like there's no way she's actually able to be, but she thinks she is. Like, I wonder if it's more about like you have imbibed alcohol and you think you're impaired. Like there's a consciousness around having alcohol. Even if you're not actually impaired, there's this consciousness that I've had alcohol. Like if she didn't realize it was alcohol, is she able to see this monster?
I
don't know.
It might have something to do with maybe the monster can sense, or, you know, whatever spell is around this monster, that aura that they put off. Because obviously the monster isn't doing something like conscious. Like it's just something that happens around the spirit.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that has something to do with like the percentage of liquid you can hold in your body and how much percentage of that is alcohol. So,
but that is what like inebriation is, though. I feel like it's still not enough, though.
Right.
I feel like
well, maybe it's just any level of alcohol.
I feel like it's got to be that
spirit consent. Because also, like the mom seemed to, once she turned around, the mom seemed to see,
and she didn't even take that much.
I don't know. Maybe she did have a drink.
We didn't actually see her have a drink, though.
We didn't. No, but like maybe she was drinking before. We don't know.
We know
that's why she put
drink.
a shot and a half into this orange juice because she already took a few beforehand.
Right. So we know she's had some. We can assume she's had some. But yeah, again, also she's not. It's not. She's not acting drunk.
Yeah.
She's not acting. She's like having a drink, which I think is you have a few victims in this episode that are sort of that. Even Sam and Dean, like at moments. You know, are like varying levels of like actually inebriated and but which is why I thought it was a little interesting that they seem to think they have to be drunk when it's obvious based on all the evidence that they don't actually have to be drunk. You just have to have had alcohol.
Especially because they talked to the kid and she's like, I tried some.
In which case, why would you get drunk? That seems so dumb, so reckless, so unnecessary. Like, why are you both drunk? Like, this seems really dangerous.
I mean, to be fair, they don't know. They haven't asked any specific questions about like how much anyone has had.
But then why didn't they?
I mean, they should have. Yeah, that's my point. They should have.
Or maybe maybe
start
by getting
we need to get drunk. We don't know how far.
But maybe don't start then royally drunk. Maybe start a little bit.
Maybe like get a little drunk. Or just get like tipsy, have a drink or two, and then
you've got a team of 3. You could have one person get real shit faced,
right?
And have another person like take one drink, and then the third person, probably Garth, because if he takes one drink, he's drunk already. Have him be sober for like
it seems smart to have someone be sober regardless. Like even like later on,
team of 3.
Why isn't one of you sober? Because this seems like it seems, and that seems to be a pretty like solid hunting rule, like that the Winchesters generally live by. Like every once in a while they will hunt with some alcohol, but like pretty rare. Like they seem to have like a little bit of a like, we don't hunt when we are,
incapacitated. in some sort.
Incapacitated.
The thing is,
When we
I
are
think
impaired, we
especially
don't
for,
hunt
like,
impaired.
they also just have seem to have very high tolerances. So even if they have alcohol in their system quite often, which it seems like they do, especially Dean.
Yep. Which Sam
it's
mentions.
not going to actually affect them.
He's like, can you even get drunk anymore? It's basically like drinking a vitamin, right?
Exactly. We always see them with
fuck.
beers around, and Dean's always taking sips from the flask, and it doesn't seem to affect their hunting because they just have such high tolerances to it.
Which is why I have some questions about their willingness to be impaired by alcohol.
Yes. I do recognize that the way that the story worked in this episode is that it had them all split up, so they couldn't be a team of 3 working on it together because Dean had to go get the sword, Garth had a hostage in his hotel room, and Sam went to go watch supposedly the last remaining kid, who seemingly gets off scot-free this whole episode, right? She's good. She's out of there.
Yeah.
So it had them all split up, and then Garth figured out that there was an extra kid, so they went to that. But that's neither here nor there. It is worth noting that Dean is the sober one. Once they make it to the brewery, Garth is gone. He took all those little mini shots for that kid. Oh my God, fucked him up. And then Sam, we can assume, is somewhat drunk because he was drunk at the bar and then took the slowest taxi ride.
And it hasn't been very long at all.
No, but he's also got a pretty high tolerance compared to Garth. And so Dean is stone cold sober.
Which also, I had questions about the time frame of that.
Yeah.
Because they were drunk only 2 scenes before. And I was like, that's not how that works.
It's not magic.
Not magic. It's half an hour doesn't make you sober. So
it did show them drinking coffees after they got drunk at the brewery overnight.
So maybe more time has passed than it seems like within the episode itself.
It's probably the next night, if I had to guess.
I don't think it is though.
It kind of feels like a 3-day event in this episode, with the first day being them getting there and then breaking in, and the second day being fighting the thing, and the third day Garth leaving and them having their discussion. But as long as we are on the topic of Garth and his investigative skills, can we talk about Mr. Fizzles?
Oh my God, Mr. Fizzles!
Oh my God, I was losing my mind.
He wants to listen. I made Elena for their birthday last year. I made them a Mr. Fizzles card.
No.
You'll have to, it's too bad they're not on this episode because they'd have to show it, but
oh my God,
a Mr. Fizzles card.
That's adorable. Oh my God.
It's so good.
It was such a good scene. Sam, that was a really good impression. I'm impressed. I started talking before I realized what I was hearing, and it wasn't a clip from the episode. It was just you.
The acting, the comedic genius timing from DJ Qualls.
Not just hey, trust, my special lady's got twins. That. Oh, and Dean doing the special lady. What the what?
What are you? Good. What are you? 50?
my dime piece down the road. Fuck, what?
Garth is so weird and endearing.
It's so good.
So weird and endearing.
When he sits on the coffee table.
I think it's so funny that Sam and Dean are good with kids in a certain way, but would never think about doing something like this.
No.
And when Garth pulls it out, Sam is so doubtful. He's like, "What are you doing? This is not going to work."
Dean's there, not Sam.
Oh, Dean. Yeah.
But
right. Yeah.
He's
Dean. But he's rolling his eyes.
And he even jumps in on him and is okay, well, that's enough from that
he's
guy.
This is not.
So, hey, girl, can you tell us? And then she responds to Mr. Fizzles, not to Dean, and is
yeah,
he was a monster. And
DJ Qualls, good at this.
His face whenever he gets the details about the monster and I drank some of the adult drink, etc., and then turns over to Dean with Mr. Fizzles turning to and is
oh my gosh,
it's just I really want to know how much of this was really detailed in the script and how much of this is just DJ Qualls sort of playing the movement piece, especially because there's when Dean says Mr. Fizzles is going to go and where the sun don't shine, and the way he moves.
Oh my gosh,
it's seared into my brain. It's so funny.
If I had to guess, I would say that in the script it says Garth looks over to Dean and is see, I did it. But I have to believe that DJ Qualls was the one that moved the puppet too. He was the one that's we're both looking over there.
Yeah, I agree.
It was so good. It was so funny.
man.
This episode, as much emotional baggage as it holds, really was hilarious. Just the way that they all work together, and it's not just hilarious, but like endearing, like you said, August. Like, yeah. I want to see more of this trio. I need to see more of this trio. Oh my God, throw Cass in the mix. See how Garth handles Cass. Like, fuck, that'd be so fun.
He's
Oh my.
he's just such a delightful character, and like he's such a like also he's just like such a he like might be the first like well-adjusted hunter we've met in 7 years. When he says like when he's got them into this hotel, and this hotel is such a fun vibe. Like it's
I'd
very
stay at
like
that hotel.
like how would you describe it? I'm trying to think of like what's the aesthetic of this hotel.
Not rustic, but
it's
quaint.
like luxury. It's like luxury, but like not high-end luxury. It's like trying to look
quaint luxury.
And like there's a velvet, and there's like all this sort of like these accents. And like when Dean is like, why are we in such a nice place? Basically, Garth's like, you want a nice hot tub after a day in the office. It's the little things. Like again,
I do love
Garth knows how to self-care.
Oh yeah, he does.
Like no other hunter. Like every other hunter is like brooding and miserable. And Garth is like, well, I'm going to come home after work and I'm going to sit in the hot tub.
That's one thing that he does, Garth specifically, and it rubs off on Dean throughout the episode. Garth refers to it as like, a day at the office, and like, this is work. Like, we're not doing that on work hours. Like he refers to it like it's a job with like specific type of comments that make it feel like something he signed up for rather than a responsibility he feels tied to, which I think the brothers do more often. They're like, this is what we do. It's the family business, instead of being like, well, I'm clocking out for the evening, like Garth was just so fun and cavalier about it all.
Yeah.
Which was very good to see.
I think that's a really good point. I think like Garth is such a good influence on them because he doesn't think about hunting in the same way, and it's not.
I think part of that is that it is still fun to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's true or but maybe it's just that he finds the enjoyment in doing what he knows is right, because like dressing up in the different outfits, like he put on the army uniform because like, yeah, it looks good. I like it. Yeah. And then he's like, well, I'll go fed and then I'll meet you guys over there. Like, okay, cool. So he's got the equipment to do it the whole time, but he made this decision because he thought it would be more beneficial to him. I don't know, but he definitely enjoys the little things in life,
He does.
And I respect that. Could have been a good tie-in for my mixtape if I had thought about that beforehand, but whoops.
And speaking of also like things that make Garth like just a really smart hunter, he also like him using a taser, like so much smarter than the ways the Winchesters usually incapacitate people. Like Garth is like, I need to stop someone. Like, how about I do this thing that won't permanently injure them,
won't give them head trauma? Like,
okay, like cool. Wow, what like?
That's a good point. We've never seen the Winchesters use a taser.
Which like,
that's true. Like they should do that more often.
Yeah.
Like obviously you can't like a lot of monsters that wouldn't work on, but like maybe it should be just like an option.
Have they tried tasing Leviathans? Do we know what happens there? That seems like something they should do.
Like, this is something, every time they kill a demon, I always think about, like, ugh, the poor vessel.
Yeah, they used to care about that in, like, season 2.
Yeah, like, I'm sure that tasing would work on demons. Would it?
You think it would kick them out?
Maybe it wouldn't.
Or at least would it slow them down?
I don't know. I'm like, can you stop killing, like, what? It's like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, they don't. Dude. Well, they used to exercise way more demons, and now they don't really take the time to exercise demons a lot of the time.
Yeah, they just kill them, and then it's like the vessel's dead.
Yeah, and like often the vessel would be dead anyway because demons don't treat their vessels well, but they don't even really give the shot like a chance for that most of the time now.
What if you bring a taser to a priest and have them bless it so it becomes like a holy taser?
A holy
Wonder
taser.
if that would work.
That would probably kick ass.
Yeah.
Especially, you could have like some sort of
like
water
a demon
gun
trap taser.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking water gun
that would work.
plus taser, but you fill the water gun with holy water, and so then you like and then shock wherever you hit the water, and then it double electrifies them, but also is activating holy water.
This seems really elaborate.
Well, okay. I don't see the brothers coming up with any better ideas. It could be like a I don't know, like a fused weapon where it's like double barrel shotguns have 2 triggers, right?
Yeah.
For each barrel.
Sure.
So you could have like a double barrel thing where it's like, okay, so left trigger, water, right trigger, taser.
Seems so unnecessarily elaborate.
but pretty easy to refill, I think. I don't know how tasers work, but story time. One time I was delivering down here in San Antonio, and I went to this one apartment complex where there was a cop like kind of blocking the road in front of me. So I was like, well, I guess I'll stop here. I can walk to this apartment, whatever, no big deal. And then 3 more cops pulled up, and then a fire truck pulled up, and then 2 more cops pulled up, and I was like, what is going on? And then this guy walks out of in between these buildings, and he's like shirtless and is standing there, and he's got a big old kitchen knife, and he's just like talking with this cop who has his gun drawn on the guy. And I was like,
Yeah.
Okay, well, what's happening? I didn't move, didn't get out, didn't do anything. I was like, I'm just gonna stay
Didn't
here for a
watch.
minute. And a bunch more cops walked up, one of them with the beanbag shotgun, 3 of them with their tasers out. And I was just like, okay. And I saw this dude shrug off 3 separate taser hits from 3 different guns. Boom.
What?
And he was like,
Was it like a big guy?
Not that big. Maybe
someone-
Oh my God.
maybe 6 foot. but
Superhuman.
not like super thick or like muscled or anything. Like he was a typical average guy. 3 hits, boom, boom, boom. And he was like, what's up? I don't even give a shit. And then they hit him with the beanbag shotgun. And he was like, you know what? Okay, here's the knife. I'm going down. I don't want that again. That shit hurt. So I don't know. San Antonio people are built different.
Have you ever
apparently.
been tased?
Me? No. I've thought about it.
Thought about it?
A friend of mine has a taser, one of those like handheld ones.
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, it'd be kind of fun. We were a little drunk.
That's the kind of thing that someone says. Yeah. Speaking of speaking of being impaired judgment, to be like, well, maybe that'd be fun.
We didn't do it, but I have thought about it. I've been inadvertently pepper sprayed because they were spraying somebody else,
Ooh,
and the
that's
wind was
horrible.
flowing my way, and I was like, oh my God.
That sucks.
Yeah, I've walked through pepper spray.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It was like mostly dissipated, so it didn't do too much, but I was definitely like, oh my God.
Like,
Yeah.
that feels really bad.
It was spicy. I was like, tears were coming out a little bit. I was like, oh my God, was that? Wait, did they need help? And we look back and the guy's like on the ground, clutching his face, and the girl's walking away back to her car. And we were like, nope, I think she's good.
She's good. I think she's good. I think she's handled it, actually.
She has handled the
You know what?
situation.
Good for her.
It was very funny. I mean, not really funny, but whatever. It's okay. Back to the episode.
I want to point out that Garth, maybe actually no. I want to make a shorter point and then we'll make a longer point.
Okay.
Short point, funny point. Dean, early on in this episode, is very against the idea of a microbrewery, specifically a microbrewery from the Pacific Northwest, which I think is so very funny.
It's so funny.
Family Business Brewing Company.
But that's in the South, you know.
I know, but it's so funny that he's like, it's just so funny that he's playing this character that's so that's so like, I just gotta have a cheap beer, I don't care, and then comes around in the course of this episode, comes around to it once he tries the beer.
Literally, as soon as he tastes it, he's like, oh shit, wait, okay, I get it.
Oh.
Speaking of differences between the Pacific Northwest and the South, and how they're like, wow, but we're in Kansas, like what?
They're so confused by it.
Yes, but they never once give a moment to the fact that they found someone who speaks and reads fluent Japanese and knows certain legends about Japanese monsters in Kansas. Like, not saying that's unheard of, but I would have preferred a little bit of screen time to see like how they spoke to this chef. I don't know what his job was because we don't get any information about him.
Yeah,
like a chef,
right? Yeah, it's a little shoehorned in there.
Yeah,
they're like the like cultural piece in this episode. Like, it's not the worst Supernatural's ever done. It's like not great in terms of like like I was trying to do a little bit of looking into like a shoujo, and like they're not like there's a lot of different sort of legends and details about this particular legend. And so it's not like an egregiously bad representation, but like it's not great.
No,
it's not great.
It doesn't feel great.
Especially since you have like primarily white characters. Like you only have one non-white character like really that they're really interacting with in this episode. And
sort of two. One of the witnesses to the first death is black, right? In the early.
That's true.
But she's in terms on screen for 3 minutes.
Yeah, but in terms terms of like the Japanese like connection in this
Yeah.
episode, like you have one character and
Who's
he's
not
mostly
even
just
named.
not named. He's mostly just there to like translate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would have
like-
loved a scene where they're like, okay, so crazy question. Can you read this box for us? And then he's like, sorry, what? And they're like, we'll give you $20. And it's like, I mean,
I would-
sure, fuck it. Like,
Loved if they had brought in like a hunter
mm.
with specific expertise.
Oh my God, wait.
Like if they had had a not like a hunter that had actual background in like if it, yeah, just like a little bit more work on the like not just stealing a cultural legend and turning it into a supernatural monster.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just
Again,
remembered.
could be worse, but like isn't great.
I just remembered that Bobby speaks fluent Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have been their connection here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's still a
He's
white
still
dude.
a white guy. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Like it doesn't make the situation better. But I'm just realizing that that's why they had to find someone in
Yeah.
the area that could do it. Which
Yeah.
okay, if we're gonna talk about the bad representation, going back to this same chef, I assume that same night and being like, maybe it's the next night. We don't know. They don't ever clarify. And then being like, oh, okay, so yeah, remember how you translated for us a little while ago? Could you say this blessing over this sword while I pour water over it? What? What?
Mhm.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
This is
What are you
such
doing?
a bad representation
doing?
of Japanese culture. And
Oh my
okay,
gosh.
okay, cool. And the fact that it's not like it's in an alley behind a restaurant, like what?
So many questions.
Let's at least give this character a name, please. Like the least you could do is I get
The
the end.
very
Dean's like,
least.
hey, thanks, bud. You know, like says his name and then like moves on. I
Right.
mean,
The very least you could do.
the very, very least.
Yeah.
But that being said, knowing supernatural writers, they could have pulled a J.K. Rowling and been like, Cho Chang. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I don't
My one
trust
Asian
I don't mean
character.
I don't trust Supernatural
Yeah.
with this kind of thing. And again, like this isn't just not it's just not ideal.
Yeah.
Interesting
Premise for an episode, but if you're not going to put in the work to do the actual setting justice,
Yeah.
then make up a new one that has
Right.
similar vibes.
Right.
But make up a new one that's American based or whatever.
Yeah, like Supernatural, like a lot of the creators really wanted to use, like they really want to use like base things off of like real legends. But again, yeah, if you're not going to put in the work to like do it properly and like respectfully, maybe just get creative.
Yeah.
Your imagination.
Yeah.
Like
What was your longer point? Sorry, that
My
short
longer
point
point-
turned into a longer point.
yeah, my longer point. My longer point was around. I think I want to hear your thoughts on how the episode draws out them figuring out that Bobby is a ghost.
Okay.
And specifically
Okay,
Garth's
we're getting
role,
into this.
specifically Garth's role in that, because I think that's my last like big thing that I have in terms of like a note. Is I have a lot of notes on this.
Me
So
too.
yeah, I want to hear like what y'all thought about how they tell that story.
Well, okay. If we're gonna get into the meat of the episode, in my opinion, I loved it. I really enjoyed that Garth. Okay, because Dean had made jokes about like, who do you think? Wait, we're going through Bobby's stuff, and then like this page just ended up on top. Like, do you think that's Bobby? Like they had mentioned it a few times earlier in the season, but then Garth comes in, spends one day with them, and is like, "Hey, so do you think Bobby's haunting you?" Immediately, like he's a
Like puts
way better
those
hunter.
pieces together. Puts those pieces together so fucking fast.
So fast. He's like, flashes back to when Dean put Bobby's flask down on the counter and the EMF went off and like all that, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
I loved the way that they did it subtly and then like had Garth bring it up to Dean and Dean's like, fuck off. No, we're not talking about this right now. It's not the case. Bobby's an icon and a legend and my father. So get out of here.
He's
But
not.
then-
There's no way Bobby's a ghost.
Dean doesn't try that hard with denying it, but he is trying really hard to avoid it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like he's kind of being like, yeah, no, it's not possible. But the bigger thing that he's pushing is to not talk about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Avoidance, which is very classic.
And then when Garth brings it up at the hotel room with the hostage in the bathtub, Sam is like, well, you know what? I tried it. I already tried talking to him.
Which, how do you feel about this?
Immediately, I was crushed. I like my heart, like, oh no, baby boy, oh fuck. But then
I
he
was
says,
not surprised.
no, definitely not. But I was very much in Dean's boat where he's like, sorry, you did what? Without me? Like me, I was like, we didn't get to see that? I would have killed to see that. Please.
This would have been a great
Include me.
moment for a flashback of that happening.
Yes.
Yes. Show it to us earlier.
It would have been so good.
I feel like this kind of goes back to though the whole thing about like them grieving differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like I understand why Sam chose not to tell Dean, because like with things with Bobby in the past few weeks or however long it's been, every time Sam brings up something about Bobby, Dean is not really wanting to engage.
Yeah.
No.
And so I can understand Sam being like, oh, I don't want to deal with bringing this up with Dean and convincing him to try this with me. I'm just going to do it. And then if something comes up, then I will tell him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is fair.
It makes a lot of sense. Like he's like, I don't. Yeah.
But
it makes a lot of sense.
If Bobby is haunting the flask, then that's probably why Sam didn't get a response. Is because Bobby's following the flask.
Well, I don't think Sam clocked that it was from the flask.
Okay, but so I'm saying that Sam wasn't ignored by Bobby. You know, like
No, right. It's
Bobby
just like
wasn't around.
Oh yeah,
for that
I never thought that.
No, yeah,
Bobby's not. Bobby couldn't answer because Bobby's with the flask, and if the flask was with Dean, and Sam did it when Dean was not around.
Yes, that's what I think is the most important takeaway, is that Bobby wasn't ignoring Sam. Sam tried to reach out to his dad and couldn't get through, and thought that meant he's not haunting.
Right, because Sam was like, "Why wouldn't Bobby answer me?" Of course he would.
Of course he would.
So if he didn't answer, then that means that he's not here.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get the most precious scene of the entire episode, which is in two parts. One with Garth outside, and he hugs them both. And it's so sweet and so cute.
Very sweet.
And I love that about him. He's making sure that they know, like, hey, thank you. I appreciate you. We worked well together. Give me a hug. Bring it in. Fucking love him. And then the boys are like, well, let's talk about it. And they walk back inside and they talk about whether or not Bobby is actually here. If he's not, they debate it back and forth. Then they walk out.
At that point, it's really starting to be clear that it is.
It has to be.
It has to be. Like, again, the sword ends up in Dean's hand, like, and Sam tries to give another explanation, but it's like, it's so flimsy.
Yeah.
Like, it's so flimsy.
Not good.
Like, it's not.
Then they walk out to the car, and the whole time I'm already like on the verge of tears because they're talking about Bobby. They're realizing that he could be around, he could not be, whatever, and we don't know. And then the camera pans over to Bobby standing there, and I was screaming at the TV, started crying basically immediately, and then Dean forgets something, goes back inside, grabs the flask, and Bobby's fucking face when he thinks that Dean can see him.
Can I make it worse? I'll tell you.
Yeah.
That's that music you're hearing, that's Dean's theme.
Oh my god.
That's Dean's theme. That's playing before that moment and in through that entire moment.
August.
You made it worse.
Which yep. And it's whenever they have this whole conversation about grief. Like they have like Sam is the whole thing being like, you know, I think regular people like see people they lost all the time. Which like,
oh my god,
like,
that conversation.
Fucking hurts.
Like they talk about how like, and they're sort of both grappling with like, maybe we just want it to be Bobby really, really badly. And maybe we're actually just like normal about this.
Me too.
Maybe we're just being
maybe
regular people about something.
Someone important to us.
And
the
like
most important. They didn't have these conversations after John died.
No, they've never had a loss like this before.
Ellen and Joe is probably the closest it's gotten besides Bobby.
But Ellen and Joe were family, but they were not
everyday family.
Yeah, and they were not like a mentor and a father figure the way that Bobby was.
Oh god.
Okay, yeah, so thanks, August, for making me rethink that whole entire scene with that theme. The way that Bobby had such hope in his eyes and the little smile, and Dean looks right past him and walks to the flask.
And even what Dean says, like, oh, there you are.
Oh my god, fucking broke me. Broke me. It's fine. I'm fine. And then Bobby, he hits us with one more idjit and balls before he flickers out of the room.
He says, like, I'm right here, you idjit. Like, which also begs the question of, like, Bobby
seems to be limited as a ghost, right?
Which is very interesting.
Like
because usually
he's been trying to reach out to them and to appear and to say stuff, and the best he can do is help in little moments here and there.
Yeah.
It seems so far. I'm baffled because why? Who is stopping him from doing this? Who is restricting him as a ghost in the afterlife? All these other ghosts appear, boom, 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 and like do crazy ass shit. They can slam doors, they can throw people against the walls, whatever. Like,
well,
About to say a spoiler. About to say a spoiler.
Yeah, never mind.
I'm about to say something and then pause to be like, I don't think I can say that.
Wait a second. I don't think I
I
should
can't
say
say
that.
that.
You know what? This is as good a time as any to jump into my mixtape suggestion for this episode.
Yeah, I was also going to say that.
Because obviously the episode where Bobby comes back, not quite in the flesh, but he comes back. I have to make it about Dean and Bobby this episode. And so I've picked Pursuit of Happiness by Chance Pena.
Ooh.
Specifically the cover by him because it's way better than Kid Cudi's. No offense. I know you listen. But it's a much slower, more emotional version of the song. And it talks about driving drunk, which is kind of fitting for this episode. But
Yeah.
it talks about the chorus. People tell me slow my roll. I'm screaming out, fuck that. I'm going to do just what I want. Looking ahead, no turning back. If I fall, if I die, know that I lived it to the fullest. If I fall, if I die, know I lived and missed some bullets, which fucking hurts. But then it says, I'm on the pursuit of happiness, and I know that everything that shine ain't always going to be gold. I'll be fine once I get it. Yeah, I'll be good. Because Dean, he's trying to find his connection with Bobby again, and Bobby is trying to protect his boys as best as he can from this afterlife that he finds himself in.
Yeah.
And I really wish the best for both of them. And listening to this song before we started recording today fucking broke me again. It was bad, but it's a good song.
That's a good choice. It's a good choice.
Thank you.
Oof. Sam, what do you got today?
Okay, can I have two? Am I allowed to?
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Okay, my first one is just kind of silly-ish. The first one is I Gotta Get Drunk by Willie Nelson. And it's just, that's all it is. It's just talking about
that's
getting
good.
drunk. And then my second one is, I know that it's technically a romantic song, but I'm going to use it for Bobby because it made me, the last scene with him made me think of it. It's Dancing on My Own by Callum Scott.
Oh my God.
Ooh, that's a good choice.
There's that line where it says, I'm right over here. Why can't you see me?
Yep, that's a good choice. Yeah, good choice.
Sam, I don't appreciate this.
I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. Those are my picks.
Beautiful. Very well done.
My song is also, it's like sort of, it's for the vibes. And it's for the relationship with between Sam and Dean and Bobby. And the song is Call Your Mom by Noah Khan. That idea, like just that concept of like looking out for each other and like felt fitting for this episode where they've kind of like got this potential for connection with Bobby again.
I love that. Yeah. That's a good one to end on.
Hurts a lot.
Hurts.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other like messages?
I do think it's kind of fun that Garth now has a running joke of getting knocked out in every major fight that they are involved with. I like that. It's a fun little time. Good little joke.
Yeah.
Hope to see that continues in the future. We shall see. Also, sorry, this sword that has now been blessed and can kill specific ghosts, they're keeping that with them forever, right? Like that's a part of their kit.
I would assume that's
I feel like they just put it in the trunk with the others.
Yeah, like that's I mean, not just that, but like swords are pretty good. Like you can, it's a pretty solid weapon, pretty effective weapon. Especially if you could, double, triple bless it, like get it blessed by a few different religious figures.
Problematic on for other
reasons. You know what? You're right. You're so right.
That seems like maybe you shouldn't do that.
You could at least coat it in holy water.
Just to get a couple different swords and then have
there we go.
I mean, that's pretty much a hobby of theirs anyway. Yeah. I think that's all. I love Garth. I love Bobby.
Man.
I'm really happy.
Sorry. Last bit. When Dean sends off Sam and the other kid to go get Garth, and then he asks Bobby if he's here, the quiver in his voice when he's asking, like, hey, I really want to hear from you. Like, I need to hear from you. Like, are you here? Because I'm struggling here without you.
Yep.
Fuck. Jensen Ackles, you icon, you legend. Came from my whole heart and soul in that scene. And fact that Sam sees it but doesn't intrude on the moment is some big sibling energy, and I fucking love it.
It really, really is.
But that was my last note. I love that scene. It hurt me.
Yeah.
This episode was a personal attack.
A delightful one though.
Yes.
And you know, like now we know it's Bobby.
Now
like
we know.
now we get to see what that means
Yep.
for the
I'm
future. Because
so
obviously
excited.
now that we know it's him, like it's gonna be a thing.
And this doesn't go in the lost cannon jar.
No, it does not.
No.
It
Good.
does not.
Good.
Noah's word.
That was like
so mean if the
That would be
writers
so
did that. Oh my
fun.
god, that would be
Oh
so
my
mean.
god! If like
Just the
him
one time.
flickering out there at the end was like the last
That's
time
it.
you see him as a ghost, and like they're never gonna resolve that.
They don't
Whatever.
follow up at all.
an insane choice of
Rough.
them be like, let's drop a bunch of breadcrumbs about Bobby as a ghost, and then make him a ghost, and then just never address it again.
I would call up every single one of them, find their address, and send them very mean letters. And I would say, hey, fuck you for the personal trauma that I have induced. And this is someone who is starting the show 2 years after it came out or after it finished. Like,
You are not, yeah.
I can't imagine how bad it hit people who were like me back in the day, big fans of Bobby, and had to deal with this in real time. God.
Yep. But thankfully that's not the case. There will
More to
we
come.
get see. More to come.
Okay.
More to come. But that is not going to be today. So it is now time for our final and favorite section of the episode, and that is our character blessings. Sam, Noah, who do you want to bless this week?
I'm gonna not go with my usual.
Oh, mixing it up.
Who are you?
I know, right? I wanted to bless the little girl. Do we know what was her name?
Jess.
I think we
Tess.
Tess.
Tess, right.
Yes.
I want to bless Tess. Because fuck, she watched her mom die.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of therapy.
And that's rough. And there's a lot happening. It's not like just her mom, like that whole family. There's been a lot of loss and trauma. And yeah, I hope that she is able to work through it and grow up and be okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's a solid blessing.
Yeah. It's fitting. Noah?
Surprising nobody. I'm going to bless my one and only Bobby because he's here, he's back, and he wants to be with his boys, and he can't, but he's trying to help them in any way he can. And he's it's a blessing to Bobby for the struggle that he's going through, but also to anybody out there who is going through a similar vibe where they keep trying to reach out to people who it feels like can't hear you and can't see you in the right way, and you are trying to, and hoping for the best for that person or those people, and you are seen by those of us who can't. Blessings to y'all. Blessings to Bobby.
That's a really lovely blessing. No, Noah, I don't really think I'm gonna be able to top that. And I don't have any desire to. I think that was really lovely. I'll co-bless the brothers in general. So we bless them both. Because they are, that conversation at the end where they're talking about grief really kind of got to me a little bit. They're talking about like the sort of sadness that they have when they are like, maybe this is just what grief is like. Maybe we're being normal about something, like, and that is off, like for most of us, that's going to be the reality with grief, is like there's no ghost, there's no like twist in the story. It's just grief. And that sucks. And so a blessing for Sam and Dean as they kind of experience this and try and like acknowledge it and sit with it and be with it. Yeah.
You were talking shit about yourself, saying that you weren't going to top it, but I think that was pretty
pretty
solid.
Good.
It's an episode with some very, very fitting opportunities for blessing. So,
and I loved all three of them. 10 out of 10, guys.
So
once again,
that's going to be it for today. Thank you both for being on this episode with me.
Oh, of course.
A pleasure.
It was a blast.
I've been so excited for this episode.
I get why now for multiple different reasons. It was a great time and good conversation with the both of y'all.
Really, really was. Yeah.
Amazing.
Guys, I just love talking with y'all. Y'all are some of my favorite people in the planet Earth. Like,
me too.
Heart emojis.
Right back at you.
Me too. This is a gift.
I
doing
can't
this every
imagine
week.
a better crew of people to go through a show like this with. So
I agree.
This is a weekly gift
Yes.
to do this.
Speaking of weekly gifts, we've also got our side project, Queering People Saving Throws, which is the three of us along with Elena and KJ of Supernatural Opinions. And we take, a really solid dive into a queer D&D adventure. It releases on Fridays every once in a while right here on our feed. So, if you like this conversation, feel free to go check that one out too. It's extra fun.
Yeah. If you also want to hear more of us and talking about Supernatural, make sure that you are subscribed to Saving People Queering Things anywhere that you listen to podcasts, and share our show with your friends. You can also find our free Discord server and find links to our socials, catch up on the latest season mixtapes, and more at our website, queeringthingspodcast.com.
Be sure to ride along with us next week as we explore Season 7, Episode 19 of Grave Important through the theme of influences.
Thank you all for coming along for the ride, and we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again.